September the 20th, 2022. Guys, quick video. We're looking at satellite images over the Atlantic, which includes the Caribbean and most of the Gulf of Mexico. And here, just pulling north now from the Bahamas, is a Cat 2 Hurricane Fiona. Very well defined eye. You're starting to see some wobble tonight as this thing reforms. It gets a little cooler after the sun gets off of it, and it regenerates. It was predicted to become a Category 3 hurricane, but now they've upgraded that to a Category 4. That is very bad news for Bermuda, a very tiny island. It will not even affect the speed of the storm as it would if you came across the Dominican Republic or Cuba, or one of those islands. Bermuda is very small. Matter of fact, it's this little dot right there, guys. Anyway, Category 4 coming in there. I still say watch the East Coast, especially along North Carolina, for rip currents, strong tides, possible storms. But the rip currents could be very dangerous. It could be very sunny, and you've got a Cat 4 spinning off the coast. You know that's not a good combination. Also, let me say this. There's another thing we were watching, and it's for this end of this month and into October, and it's a financial problem, financial collapse, possibly the beginning of the reset. And the banks and the stock market are continuing to be in trouble. Look at it. What was it? Down another 300 a day. And it's been going like that for the last couple of months. But what we talked about in the video with Paul a few Sunday nights ago was that we would see a dramatic drop, and we saw over 2,000 points or 2,200 points in 2 trading days. And in the pattern that we were looking at in that video was that several things are coming together. One is, again, the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But in the banking industry, they start looking at other things also. And this is going to be a very important time. I think that the politicians know, all the politicians know exactly what's going on, and they're starting to bet on it as far as their stock market investments, which should be tremendously illegal. But most of the Republicans are as deep into the stock market and betting against us. In other words, shorting the stocks that would make America great, and going along with the lobbyists that participate in that it's becoming pathetic. None of these guys, none of these rhinos are trustworthy anymore. None of them. We got a couple of guys that we're watching, including the governor of Florida, that's trying to do some of the right things, but when it comes right down to where the rubber meets the road, are they really going to be on our side or not? We'll see. But now, Hurricane Fiona right here, Category 2, was predicted to become a Category 3. Again, it's going to become a Category 4. We have another problem, and it may not be as bad a problem as we think, as we look at it from one side. But we talked about that even if these storms, and I think they're being manipulated, they're coming towards the East Coast and turning back into the Atlantic. Even if they're manipulated, at least they are helping to cool down the temperatures of the Atlantic Ocean, which is very important. But what about the Gulf and the Caribbean? Well, we've got a storm right here, right now, that has an 80% chance of development, and 2 or 3 of the models have it pulling right up into the Gulf and blowing through somewhere into the Florida Panhandle. We'll take a look at those models. But again, for our friends in Bermuda, this thing is going to get really bad. Category 4 on you, and you're such a small island, it will not even slow down the winds. You're going to be battered by high waves, flooding seas, extremely dangerous conditions there for such a small island. If I were there and I had time, which you do if you're there and you have the capability of getting off that island and getting over into the U.S., it would be a very good time to do it. I know a lot of people that live there, not everyone. They do have the means to fly out. Most of them probably have. But again, look at that eye. Now let's look at the model of this thing that's about to come into the Caribbean. This may be the key to cooling it off here and into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, looking at this brand new update, I want to say something. Fiona is not a Cat 2. It is now a Cat 3 hurricane this far south. And again, Cat 4 moving across this tiny island right here, guys. It's one of those things that it's like when the climate changes very drastically, you adapt, migrate, or die. Think about that. But below that, we got an 80% chance of cyclone formation in 5 days. It says a tropical wave located a few hundred miles east of the Windward Islands continues to show signs of organization. Additional development is expected, and a tropical depression is likely to form within the next few days as the system moves westward to west-northwestward at 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's a pretty good clip, guys. And it's going to move across the eastern and central Caribbean Sea. Interest in the Windward Islands should closely monitor the progress of the system, as heavy rainfall and gusty winds could affect these islands beginning on Wednesday. Now, guys, Puerto Rico, that area, Dominican Republic, have their power's been out. Massive flooding, 20 to 30 inches of rain in some places. It is very bad conditions. It's very good that the center of Fiona, again, Cat 3, is pulling out from the major islands here. This one could be a problem. Now that we are looking at a Navy model, that's what we're about to look at, GFS, and the Canadian model. One thing about the Navy model, I think I mentioned it in the last video, is that we have land-based radar systems. We have things that can manipulate the weather offshore, also on Navy ships. So when you start seeing the Navy model veer very quickly away from all the other models, they know something that we don't know. Now, this is an update at 8 p.m. This thing is changing quicker than I thought it would. Look at this. Winds now at 125, not 115. That's a quick change between the National Hurricane Center and the hurricane group at Sky Tower down in Florida, guys. This thing is a 3. 125 is expected to become a 4 very quickly. This is tomorrow. And with this amount of time, but in this warm water, even though we've seen some storms come through, in the last storm moved to the right side of Bermuda, which is right here. That means all of this water between here and the East Coast, including the Gulf Stream, which is the warmest sections, has not been cooled off. That's why we're seeing what I said would happen all summer, is that if these storms did not come in all the way, then we would have problems with the ocean overheating. Now we've got a storm coming into the Caribbean, into the Gulf, and look at what Fiona's going to do here. This is a very major hurricane. Cat 4 coming over Bermuda. Cat 3 as it slams into St. John's, into that area. Now first, let's look at the CMC, or the Canadian model. You're seeing first Fiona pull out into the Atlantic. Here's the second storm that we're watching right here. And at this point, which is September the 30th, when this model ends here, this thing is starting to get very concentrated, get into the blue and the purple and the millibars of pressure. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. Right here, coming just out of the Bay of Campeche into the Gulf of Mexico itself. A couple other storms back here. This one may be the one to remember. Now let's switch to the Navy model, and this thing is doing the same thing the last 3 storms that were approaching the U.S. and the Caribbean did. At the last minute, and again, we have ships that have the ability to manipulate the weather. It's not conspiracy theory anymore. It's well documented. Shows this storm Here's Fiona coming out, and then this storm following that path. Check that out. We're going to move to the global forecast system. Again, GFS model. It goes out a little further than this Canadian model. Here's your second storm coming into the Gulf of Mexico, getting extremely strong, coming in between Mobile, Alabama, and somewhere along below below Panama City in the Florida Panhandle, right in here. What is that, guys? Apalachicola in that area. But look at the size of this thing. So we have the Canadian model stopping it here, well past the point of turning north, right here, of what the U.S. Navy model was showing. Check this out. This goes further in time. My point is this. We have seen that the Navy model has changed the models very quickly, well ahead of all the other ones. When all of the other years that I've been watching this, they would vary, but they wouldn't change that quickly. And it's like having a loaded deck of cards. When they know what's going to happen, when they know what they're going to do. Now, one of the things that would be a variable in this is we got Fiona coming up through the East Coast as a Cat 3 into a Cat 4. And how would that affect the ability of anything behind that to affect weather, whether it's a ground station with power knocked out or a ship that's in trouble because of high seas. But this is an extended version of the Canadian model, again, GFS, and it shows that there could be some trouble inside the Gulf of Mexico, but the waters are way too warm. We're seeing a tremendous amount of algae, jellyfish, record numbers. I've never seen anything like it down in Florida in the Panhandle. And so it needs something to come in there, agitate the water, and cool it off. When it agitates it, it brings oxygen back into it, just like an aquarium or anything like that where you're pumping water back or oxygen back into the water itself. We're at that time of the year, guys, and we're just going to have to watch this. Is the GFS and the Canadian model wrong, or is the Navy in control? Again, they have a loaded deck of cards. We're going to watch it. Let me say this also. A lot of you guys have come in there and pre-ordered the new CD Aurora. We are working very hard on making this thing sonically very sound, and making it where it's a very good feeling music. We're trying to have it out in the next 2 weeks, but when you come in and pre-order like that, then I kind of know how many to order, because we're in an economic situation in the country, in the entire planet. But if I only need a certain amount, I can tell by the pre-orders how many that is. And guys, I promise you, it's going to be one of the best CDs you can kick back, put in your home system or put in your car and cruise, and and enjoy the music and relax. That's what this whole thing's about this new CD Aurora. But right now, we need to pay attention to what we're seeing in the Atlantic and what's coming into the Caribbean, possibly the Gulf. We're watching it. You watch it, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.